So the real estate market in 2022 was something that we haven't seen in a long time.
Ever.
And
Ever.
ever. It was it was something
Unprecedented.
brand new. Yes. The most recent market data that you could get, the best. So if you are thinking about selling, obviously, rehash that as you get closer to making that decision. But as we reflect on our 5 key takeaways from 2022, we're going to go into what we might expect to see going into 2023. So let's jump into it. As always, thanks for tuning in. If you guys are thinking about selling, you got questions, want to start that conversation, hit us up. We are the
Call.
here. Call, as Lauren says. Call, text, email. We got your back when making the move here in North County, San Diego. So just to start it off, in 2022, there was basically 2 different markets. So the beginning of the year, which was kind of that frenzied market, and then the latter half of the year when interest rates did rise. So it's kind of 2 separate markets. We're going to focus on kind of that front end and what we could expect going into 2023. So first key takeaway in 2022, everything more or less sold fast and for a very good price. So it didn't matter really condition, location, what was going on right there. Everything was going. Is that what you're seeing, Lauren?
With interest rates dropping down to 3%, give or take, another, unprecedented time, really low interest rates, really low inventory, the lowest inventory we've seen. So that's one of the unprecedented things. Whatever came on sold quickly. And it was, like you said, the win for buyers was getting the property. You didn't get inspections many times, although all of our clients did. You couldn't have an appraisal, or you could, but it wouldn't be based on the appraisal. There was all kinds of craziness going on. So, and that's just a extreme supply demand imbalance.
Yeah. And so going into 2023, what to expect, although you can't change the location of your home, you can change the conditions. So getting that home prepped is going to be super key to success in 2023. And also one more expectation, when we did see home selling super quick, expect a little bit longer days on market than we did see at the beginning part of the year.
Key takeaway for that for this year is really all the way coming up to when you get ready to put your house on the market. If it takes you a couple months, you're going to want to pick your price right when you hit the market based on how you compare to everything, because the goal in the current market is to have a compelling price to get buyers' attention and to get more than one buyer interested in your home, to get you the best price and a little bit quicker timing when possible.
Yeah. So that second takeaway was in 2022, price is always super important. It wasn't as important because there were so many buyers out there. They were kind of figuring out what the price was, which they always do. They figure out what the market value of the home is. But since there were so many offers, it was bumping up those prices quite significantly. So in 2023, like Lauren said, pricing is going to be super important, even more important, even going up to, let's say you meet with their agent right now and you're not listing for another 6 months, you're going to want to revisit kind of that initial launch price as you get closer, because things have been changing so rapidly.
I would say going into the beginning of the year, even after a month, if you're not going on until February, you'll have a guideline, but then you really want to look at it right now. That's almost always the case. It's just, like you said, it's more important now. You could just throw a price on earlier in the year and see what happens.
Key takeaway number 3 is going to be that we did see a crash in 2022, but it was mostly a crash, the number of transactions compared to 2021, the amount of transactions, and even recent history years, the amount of transactions or number of homes actually sold went down significantly compared to other years. Going into 2023, like Lauren was mentioning earlier, interest rates are going to play a huge part of that. It all comes down to that supply and demand, supply being the houses for sale, demand being how many buyers are out there. So it's kind of hard to predict since interest rates have fluctuated so quickly in both directions. But going into 2023, we are expecting to see less transactions as a whole in the new year.
Yeah, I think overall they're looking at this year's nationally 5.6 million and next year probably 5.1 million. So that's another 10% drop. Your local area is going to be, this is one of those things where getting the general picture is a good idea, but then you got to go to your zip code and see what's happening in your zip code specifically, and then your neighborhood to really dial that in the best you can.
Yeah. And another thing on buyer demand, obviously they're keeping an eye, interest rates are super important, but just the sentiment of buyers, like the last video we made was kind of the bad news that everybody is seeing out in the market. And that does play a piece in buyers potentially going out there. They see prices are going down. So maybe we'll just wait. Maybe we'll just wait till 2024. So the buyer sentiment is also going to play a big role in 2023.
And some of that's just going to play out. There's all kinds of things to look for in the economy, and really the things, for real estate related, we're looking at what inflation is going to do, because that's going to have an impact on what the Fed does, and that's going to have an impact on what mortgage rates do. There's all these different impacts, but the impact was definitely felt with mortgage rates this year doubling essentially, which hasn't ever happened before. So
yeah.
and the other thing to think about too, it's not just that the interest rates double, mortgage rates double, but think about this, the fastest rise ever too. So it wasn't like, it was this incremental, all of a sudden there was just these spurts that took people by surprise to a degree, and then it just made everybody wait. That's what we do. Human nature is when things get a little bit chaotic, people just wait. They don't make decisions, especially on big items like homes. So
yeah. Number 4 is going to be prices are still up year over year. So comparing 2022 to 2021, prices are still up, but we have seen decrease in the last 6 months. Even with that, once again, it comes down to local. So different zip codes are going to be different, but San Diego County as a whole is still up year over year, but down over the last 6 months. So what are we going to see in 2023, Lauren?
Hopefully a little more evening out would be a nice thing to see. Less extremes in the market. It would be nice if we could see mortgage rates drift down, and then inventory could pick up a little bit, and then, so it would be a more even flow. So it's hard to judge because there's so many different factors, but it's almost the best bet you can make that it's not going to be as crazy as last year as far as interest rate rises and these big jumps and declines. I think it'll be a little more steady. And I think we've seen that already towards the end of this year a little bit, haven't we, Chris, where things are kind of evening out. Inventory, it was up year over year, many of the months. And so then when we look at next year, we're going to look at these different levels of inventory. We're going to be comparing them to a really unusual year. So those numbers are going to be interesting too, and fodder for great headlines and all those kind of things. Tune in here. We will talk some more about headlines as the year goes on, and then what it actually means. What's actually not the truth, because they put actual truthful numbers in, but it's skewed a little bit. So we'll bring it into context of what it actually means, especially locally, which is where, our focus is.
Definitely. Yeah. So be sure to subscribe, because we're dropping new videos every single week on what's going on in the market and what's currently going on. And more importantly, how we're interpreting it as real estate professionals here in North County, San Diego. One more thing on that. Q1, I think, is going to be a good indication of what we're going to see in the new year, kind of set the tone for kind of what happens throughout the other ones. So definitely stay tuned for all of that. 5th key takeaway is going to be something that we call iBuyers, which is just a cash buyer. You may have seen them. You may have been getting mail kind of delivered from them throughout the year. And in 2022, the main theme, or what we saw a lot, was they were offering these crazy prices for homes, purchasing them over what the potential market value is. Obviously, the market value is set by buyers out there, and they're a buyer, but they were seeing some pretty high prices for that. So we're going to see, I think, a change in 2023, Lauren.
Yeah, I mean, because the iBuyers had a awesome, they had a field day, and investors. Let's even bring it down to the investor level. Local investors that bought houses that were as is, that needed work, all those kind of things, special situations. They close on a house, say last December, while they're fixing it up, it was increasing in value every month. So they almost couldn't go wrong. Now, well, we know Zillow kind of went out of that market because they made some major mistakes, and then Open Door is having, some challenges. So you can't just, the prices that they offer are not going to be as favorable for homeowners. That's going to be an interesting market this year to see what level they actually come in at, because they never really rose above a couple percentage points of the market. The iBuyer specifically. Investors, there's always investors in our market. It'll be interesting to see. I think more of them are going to have a tougher time, and some of them may close their doors, just because if there's not enough things for them to choose from and make the margins they make, then it will make it very difficult.
So if you guys are thinking about selling in 2023, anytime, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now, whatever it might be, hit us up. Let's start that conversation. We'll let you know what's going on in the market right now, keep you up to date, and take care of you, guide you through the entire process of selling your home. So be sure to reach out, call, text, email. We got your back. We're moving here to North County, San Diego.